Okay, David Bowie's package is insanely visible in this movie, and it creates a lot of unintentional innuendo. Okay, we got that out of the way. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Adorkable Rachel, and it is time once again for another episode of Muppet Monday! Whee! OMG, a Muppet Monday episode? What? Well, Muppet fans, we have been overdue for one of these for a while, and you guys have been requesting and requesting and requesting that I do a review of this movie, so guess what? I'm finally gonna give in and we're gonna talk about it. Unfortunately, it will not be like my past Muppet reviews for two reasons. A, those took a lot of time to produce, and if you want me to put out more videos, then we kinda need to stick to a condensed length. And B, the less footage I use, the less likely I am to be falsely accused of copyright infringement. Deal with it! Alright, let's get to it. Labyrinth is, of course, the classic Jim Henson film that was originally released in 1986, and last week they actually showed it all across the country through Fathom Events, shown in theaters everywhere to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the release, even though the movie was released in June. I, of course, went and saw it. Some fellow fans and puppeteers were also there. Oh, and the reason it was screened this late, I think, is because it was to promote the 30th anniversary Blu-ray that's coming out tomorrow. It was so cool to finally see this on the big screen because, let's face it, the sheer creativity of this movie is meant to be enjoyed on the big screen. There is just so much going on in this movie that watching it on a small TV just does not do it justice. And what was also really cool about seeing it in the theater is that before it started, we actually got like a 10-minute featurette. Hey, maybe it'll be on the Blu-ray. It featured a lot of behind-the-scenes details of props and restoration details, as well as some footage from the film's production. And of course, as a puppeteer and a big Jim Henson fan, it was also really awesome to see how some of the puppets and props were made. And then at the end, we were introduced to the movie on screen by Brian Henson. That was awesome. But now on to the movie. Labyrinth is a story about a young girl named Sarah, 14, 16 maybe, who fantasizes a lot and hates her life because she's suffering from a lot of white privilege problems. She one day wishes for her little baby brother Toby to be taken away by the Goblin King, as you do. And then it turns out David Bowie is the Goblin King! And he takes the baby away. And Sarah's all like, damn it, probably shouldn't have done that. Teenagers, what you gonna do? And then David Bowie, as Jareth the Goblin King, tells her that she has 13 hours to solve his labyrinth, make it to his castle, rescue the baby, or else it'll be his forever. Petty question, but what does a Goblin King want with a baby in the first place? I mean, think about it. They never actually say, do they? Do Goblin Kings, like, eat babies or consume their power? What does he want with baby Toby? From there, Sarah goes on a journey to find her baby brother, and along the way she meets a lot of creative and interesting characters. And there are some songs in the film, but they're mostly sung by David Bowie, so I don't think it's a musical. So to me, I feel like the best way to describe this movie to the uninitiated is it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland meets The Wizard of Oz meets Return of the Jedi. The movie is just dripping in that classic fantasy style that was so popular in the 80s. A lot of visual creativity, feels like it took place in the past, a lot of mythical type creatures. And this was also back when kids movies could be really scary and the PG rating actually meant something. But you know what, actually, arguably, I think The Dark Crystal is a little scarier than this film. But anyway, in this world, almost all the characters and sets are originally made by hand, ranging from giant horn-friendly sidekicks to the tiniest wisecracking worms. The biggest star in the film, besides David Bowie of course, is the visuals. You could tell that there was a lot of thought and focus put into pretty much every detail on screen. And I would expect nothing less from Jim Henson. I mean, that scene with the staircases, that's gotta be like the most impressive scene in the movie, right? And with all the characters that Sarah meets, most of them puppeteered, it's obvious that a lot of fun and creative ideas were thrown at all of them as well. Like I said, it's a lot like Alice in Wonderland in that a lot of the characters that Sarah meets are just so creative, and it's just so fun to see all of them come to life on screen. I mean, when a film is directed by Jim Henson, executively produced by George Lucas, and written by Monty Python's Terry Jones, how can you possibly go wrong? With the conceptual visual creativity, that is. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. One big thing that really suffers, to me at least, is that the story is not the most cohesive. And I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of people who really like this film. I like it too, don't get me wrong, but you can't deny that the film sometimes takes a lot of weird detours, and there's a lot of scenes that don't really make a whole lot of sense. And I know they do that in Alice in Wonderland too, maybe that's kind of what they were going for, but then there's just some moments where you're just like, really, what does this have to do with anything? And I'm sorry, but not really in a good way. For example, the masquerade scene. I mean, besides giving Sarah a fever dream and making David Bowie look like more of a sex god than he already is, what was the significance of that scene? It had a nice song and it was visually beautiful, but I mean, was Jarrett's plan to sexually awaken Sarah or something? I'm just saying, it wouldn't surprise me. That, and like a lot of other scenes, it just kind of goes on for a while and you're just kind of like, okay, cool, can we move on? And don't even get me started on the fiery scene. You know it, I know it, it was a creative scene, but it was unfortunately not executed very well, and it serves absolutely nothing to the story. But, you know, besides all the weird directions and the confusing logic, the story is actually kind of simple and there is a lot of charm to it. And you know what? You can also look at it in two completely different ways. It can either be a really light story about a girl in a fantasy world trying to find her way out, or it can also be a somewhat complex allegory about a girl trying to let go of her childhood. Hence, maybe possibly why she had those moments of finding David Bowie so mesmerizing. I see what you did there, Jim Henson. But then you have to wonder, why was Sarah reunited with all the characters at the very end? God, this movie's confusing. Jennifer Connelly is of course in this. She plays Sarah, and yeah, all I'm gonna say is I'm kind of relieved that her acting got better as she got older. I mean, she was okay here, but she definitely had some moments of questionable line delivery.
I hate you! I hate you!
I hate you! And I know that Jim Henson directed this movie, but I can't help but wonder if George Lucas also had his hand in directing her acting as well. I mean, just saying, does she remind you of anybody familiar?
I hate that. I hate it!
I hate them.
But hey, David Bowie was pretty great, because not only is he handsome and a great singer and a phenomenal actor, David Bowie is the only human on earth who can get away with wearing that wig and a cape, bellowing in the wind, and sparkles everywhere when he shows up. Seriously, he is the only reason that you did not laugh when he shows up. Anyone else in that spot and you would have been like, wow, really? Seriously? That's what they're going with? I mean, come on, that's hilarious. How can I take this seriously? But like I said, it's David Bowie. He just steals the show with his performance in this movie, and he can get away with anything. Yes, we even forgive him for his package showing. He's just so charismatic and perfect and just owns this role, and he also kind of seems pretty aware that he's gonna charm the pants off the audience regardless, so he's just having a great time in this movie. I mean, come on. Dance, magic, dance.
Dance, magic, dance. Magic, dance, magic, dance.
But even though the movie's creative and the performances are pretty good, and Jim Henson clearly put a lot of love into this movie, unfortunately it was a little bit of a box office failure. And by a little, I mean a lot. But to be honest, I don't really know why that is. Was the marketing bad, or were they just kind of sick of fantasy films at that point? I mean, like I said, it's Jim Henson and George Lucas and Terry Jones, some of cinema's icons at that time. Why would you pass up this movie? I don't know. Maybe the general public wasn't ready to grasp that much nerdiness yet. I don't know. But whatever the reason, it really is too bad that it didn't make the money back, because then we would have gotten a cartoon spin-off for Saturday mornings. I mean, how awesome would that have been? They typically did that in the 80s. If there was a successful toy or movie, it got made into a TV show. Yeah, that would have been amazing. But you know, luckily, it has created a big cult following over the years. Probably a lot of it is from Henson fans, or puppet fans, or fantasy fans, or even just people who grew up with it. But the point I'm trying to get at is, even though unfortunately it was a bit of a box office failure, and the story is a little questionable at times, it still left a big impact on people. And to this day, it is considered a classic fantasy film. It's unique, it's inventive, it is wonderfully weird, and there are not a lot of movies out there like it, especially now. Yes, there's a couple of effects that are not the best. Yes, the acting is a little questionable, and yes, the story is a little problematic at times. But I do think that a lot of that is compensated with really stunning visuals, enchanting musical numbers, and just this world of wonderment that you cannot help but get lost in. Even I will admit, it's not for everyone, but if you're a Jim Henson fan, or a Puppeteer fan, or a fantasy fan, or even a David Bowie fan, then you will definitely find something that you can enjoy in this movie. So actually, when you think about it, the best audience for this film are for people like Sarah who want to make believe and don't want to forget fantasy worlds. So there you go, Muppet fans. There are my thoughts on the classic Jim Henson film Labyrinth. Now, of course, my question, as always, is what did you think of the film? Did you like it? Hate it? Did it play a big part in your childhood? Did you learn anything about growing up? Or not? And also, more importantly, how are you celebrating the 30th anniversary? Go ahead and leave your comments below. Be sure to like and share. And if you like what you saw here, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Oh, and don't forget, the 30th anniversary Blu-ray is coming out tomorrow, so go buy it. And as always, please be sure to keep checking back for more Adorkable videos coming out real soon. Bye, Adorka Buddies!